Thank you guys for tuning in. Today we have the Commissioner of DPW. Commissioner, your department is one of the most important departments in the city of Yonkers. You're the one who keep us safe with the roads in good condition, snow removal, garbage collection, and a whole bunch of other services. Tell us a little bit about what is the DPW, because a lot of people confuse DPW with parks. I'm one of them. Okay, so let's make a clear distinction between one department and the other.
Okay. As far as the job descriptions of the men who work in the departments, they're basically the same. They're called environmental maintenance workers. Some of them work for parks, some of them work for DPW. Two different commissioners, two different departments. Anthony Landy in parks, Tom Meier in public works. Public works maintains our streets, and that's in summertime and wintertime. So when it snows, we're also out there making sure it's safe to drive. We pick up your garbage. We provide with clean drinking water. We provide with appropriate pressure in that water to fight fires throughout our 12,000 fire hydrants. We maintain the sewer lines. Now, a lot of people will call me about the wastewater treatment plant. That's different. That's the County of Westchester Department of Environmental Facilities. They maintain the wastewater treatment plant, and they maintain the trunk lines, the large lines that feed all the wastewater down there. But all of the city lines that hook up to that are our responsibility, and we share that responsibility with the city engineer. The city engineer has the technical ability and helps us maintain our storm drain system and our sanitary system with inspections, but the actual repairs fall upon the Department of Public Works. We have about 450 miles of sewer pipes, about the same amount of water lines. We also provide maintenance for all of the city vehicles, the entire fleet, the police department, the fire department, parks department, public works, the councilman's cars, the mayor's cars. All the vehicles in Yonkers are all maintained by the Department of Public Works. There's over 1,200 pieces of rolling stock, and there's another couple of hundred of generators and backhoes and front-end loaders and heavy equipment like that we maintain. So the responsibilities of the Public Works Department is pretty broad.
So it's much more than meets the eye. But now you, as the person in charge of the DPW, because everything comes down to you, there is a difference between East Yonkers and South Yonkers, West Side, East Side. Anything matters to you? Because a lot of people complain that if you go to Central Avenue, part of Yonkers, roads are good. If you go to Main Street, roads are bad. Okay, who lives in Central Avenue? More Caucasians. Who lives in Main Street? More Latinos and minorities. I'm not saying that's what happens. I'm just telling you what the presumption that it's out there. More people say, well, if it's whites, they wanted everything nice. And not just about roads, even parks. Is that perception correct?
No, absolutely not. I can tell you that Tom Meier, for one, and I know Mayor Spano, for another, were born on the west side of Yonkers. We were raised on the west side of Yonkers. The new firehouse that's built there on the corner, that's right where my apartment building was. That's where I was brought up. Engine Place and Chicken Island, that's where I played stickball and football. So
25 years ago?
A little longer, but let's the point is, I love all of Yonkers. The mayor loves all of Yonkers. We do not play favorites with east, west, north, and south. But here's the reality, okay?
Please
the reality is the west side of Yonkers is much older than the east side of Yonkers. The east side of Yonkers developed in the 40s and 50s, post-World War II. Most of West Yonkers was here in the 1800s. So the infrastructure here is more broken down, more tired, older, a little more difficult to repair. But there's also other things that have happened. Environmentally, over the last 20, 30, 40 years, we have made changes in how we pick up garbage and how we recycle. A lot of those changes we had to grandfather or eliminate on the west side because buildings, old apartment buildings were built, and we didn't leave room for large garbage sheds that could handle recycling bins and all of the garbage that we as a society create now. So we pile our garbage outside. Well, that's a perception that west side of Yonkers looks dirtier than the east side of Yonkers, which is mainly single-family homes. If you go to west side of Yonkers, like Hawthorne Avenue and that neighborhood where there are single-family homes, it looks pretty much like the east side of Yonkers because we don't differentiate between that. The roads are handled the same way. We repave. Look, the mayor put in this year, I think it's another $8 million. This is the second time that we've done more than $8 million in repaving, and the mayor has allocated that money by council district. So every council district is getting a fair share of that $8 million to do his or her roads, not just politically, but based on the engineer's assessment. So the engineer sends people out, they assess the road, they grade it from 1 to 5, and then they attack the 5 being the worst. Then they attack that. These are the things that constantly happen in Yonkers. I get that all the time. And believe it or not, I'll get people on the east side of Yonkers saying, we spend an inordinate amount of time and resources on the west side. And I say to them, you're probably right if I broke it down, but for the same reason, because the west side of Yonkers is older. It needs a little more TLC.
But you know, Commissioner, sometimes perception becomes reality. Okay? And if I drive around Yonkers and I go from the west side to the east side and I drive in Central Avenue, I would say, but is this the same town?
Have you been on Central Avenue recently?
Well,
the
I was.
potholes there?
Actually, I was there maybe less than a year ago, and while they were fixing the roads.
The state, after we embarrassed them to fix it.
Correct.
The rest of Central Avenue is state, and we're working with Senator Shelley Meier. We're working with Assemblyman Nader Sage to bring DOT back, because that was when they paved that part of Central Avenue. We had a press conference with the regional director of DOT, with Senator Shelley Meier, with Assemblyman Nader Sage, and we asked them, will you come back and finish the other part? So they've been lobbying, they've been talking to the governor to allocate money to fix the rest of Central Avenue, because that needs to be done. In addition to that, we're lobbying to fix Riverdale Avenue, which is a state arterial, to get that done. So it's always a matter of limited resources, but those resources are always spread citywide. There is no favoritism. The east side of Yonkers doesn't get $5 million while the west side gets $3 million. It's spread out equally.
Okay, now let's talk about services. I know you had some good programs in your department. I actually covered a couple of them at the, what's the name of the place where we went? The DPW?
The recycling center?
The recycling center. You had some great programs.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything coming up? Is anything still current, still applicable that you want to tell us about?
We have something coming up. The mayor has asked me to increase recycling, and recycling is very important to the well-being of our planet. So we have a couple of projects that we're working on. I really don't want to announce them yet because it's for the mayor to announce.
Okay, let's not.
But we have some changes coming in the way we recycle and the things that we recycle.
The commissioner just messed me up because I always want an exclusive, and I was leading into getting that exclusive. But sorry, guys. So let's talk about programs that you already implemented, and it's still current with the pickups, the going there to bring stuff to the storage place. Tell us about that.
Well, Mayor Spano was one of the first municipalities to begin recycling styrofoam and take that styrofoam out of our waste stream. And now we recycle a couple thousand pounds. And pounds for recycling is a lot because you know how light styrofoam is. So we continue to do that on a voluntary basis. County Executive George Latimer just did a big study on taking food waste out of the waste stream and made a pretty good offer to all the municipalities that want to do that. The county will pay to ship it. Now, I'm not sold on food waste yet, and I'll tell you why. food waste will save space in landfills. Westchester County doesn't use a landfill. Westchester County burns our waste, and that in turn the energy is used to create electricity and provide energy for Westchester County. Right now, if I were to ask everybody to take the food scraps from their dinner table, from their restaurants, from their commercial establishments like our schools, and have that food scrap separated from the garbage, we would then have to haul it all the way up to Ulster and Orange County. We'd have to get these trucks that would take them up there, burning fossil fuel to do it, with no significant gain to the city of Yonkers. Scarsdale did it on a voluntary basis. The residents, because I'm a taxpayer as well, we pay about $27 a ton to tip garbage. Tipping doesn't mean we're tipping, it's the cost, it's a fee. In the industry, it's called tipping. So our fee is $27 a ton. If I took the food out of our garbage and sent it separately to Orange County, it would cost us, taxpayers, $127 a ton. So it actually cost us 5 times more to get rid of the garbage and to save in a landfill that we don't use. We don't use a landfill. But we understand that taking the food scraps, composting, all makes sense for the future. So the mayor is asking us to move in that direction.
Makes sense for the future, not the present. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
You get it. Not many people get it. I talk about this, and they don't get it. So we're looking at removing food scraps, and the first thing that the mayor will probably do is talk about doing it on a voluntary basis, and then we'll build from there. But to just one day wake up and ask everybody to get rid of their food scraps isn't practical.
Commissioner, this is a comment from Lena DJ Santowaso.
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 DJ Lenny Santowaso.
Santowaso, in my accent, what can I say? He says, Meier, not only a great Democrat, leader and chairman of the city of Yonkers, but also a fantastic DPW commissioner.
Thank you, DJ.
And there is other good comments. Now, I read your budget, not your budget, I read the budget. And I saw a line asking for an increase in the funds, resources, for your department, for future or upcoming positions in the DPW. What positions are those that you are anticipating,
okay,
and why?
The positions we're anticipating are in the water department. When I got here, the water department was pretty much being subsidized by the taxpayers. Let me explain that. The water department in our charter is a separate department. It's a water bureau, okay? Basically, we're a utility. We buy water from New York City, we sell it to the residents, but before we sell it, we have to treat it with chemicals, we have to test it, make sure it's safe to drink. So we need a laboratory, which we have. We have a New York State certified laboratory on Nepperhan Avenue. We have our own water treatment facilities where we inject chlorine and other chemicals that help reduce the rusting in the pipe and help eliminate lead in our water when it gets to our homes. Because our homes all have pipes that have solder. Solder has lead in it, so we treat it with a chemical that helps prevent that lead from leaching into the water and makes our water safer. We also have 450 miles of water main pipes that we have to maintain. We probably have about anywhere between 80 and 120 water main breaks every year. And each one of those water main breaks could take us anywhere from a day to 4 or 5 days to repair. Because, like I was saying before, it's an old infrastructure. It's 100, 120, 130, 140 years old in some places. So it breaks. And that's just usually in the wintertime because of the freezing and the thawing, the pipes get brittle and the pipes crack, and then we have a water leak, we have to dig, we have to repair that. So we're constantly borrowing money so that we can replace and repair the valves that shut the water off. So almost in every corner there's a valve so that we can isolate a water main break. So if the water main break is in the middle of the Palisade Avenue here, we could shut off down at Main Street, we could shut off at School Street, shut the water off, limit the amount of people who are without water for a day or 4 hours or whatever it's going to take us, dig the hole, make the repair, and then get back to life. So what we're
causing the
looking
least
for.
amount of impact to the community,
Right.
I would assume, right?
So one of the first things I did is I looked at the water department as a business model, and the water department was losing money in this fashion. We bought it from New York City, we were selling it. New York City would raise us 5, 10%, 12% sometimes in past years, and Yonkers would raise their water rate 2%. So what does that mean? That means everybody's getting their water cheaper, but as taxpayers, we had to pay for that because we had to pay for the water. New York City doesn't say, well, you only raised your rate 2%, so we'll forget the other 10% that we raised it. So we were actually losing money. So I put forth the strategy to get us to where we're equal to New York City. When New York City slaps a 10% raise on us like they did last year, the mayor was able to keep his raise, not his raise, but the water department's raise, to I think it was 6.3%. That's because we had proper management on the water system. We were able to build up enough of a, I'll say surplus, enough of a surplus so that we can ride those peaks and valleys out from New York City. Because they didn't raise us for 2 years in a row, and all of a sudden they came and they raised us 10%. But anyway, the charter says that if we have an excess in the water fund, we're to use that excess to provide for water for the future. Now, in the last 30 years, not many more miles of pipe have been added to the Yonkers water system. And the miles of pipe that we have are very old. So we started a program where, I'm hoping that in 10 years, and now we're on our 4th year, I'm hoping in 10 years we'd be able to replace every valve in Yonkers. We have valves that when we go out there because of a water main break, we can't shut them all the way because they're so rusted and so old, they just won't close. So we have to go further and further away until we find one that works, which means more and more people will be out of water while we're trying to repair it. And it does hamper our ability to maintain water pressure as well. So that's what those positions are for. Those positions are for a few more people. I've asked for another position in the sewer department for what's called a GIS specialist. This is a global information system. You're talking about having immediate access to news and to information. Well, we want immediate access also. Right now, we have a water main break or a sewer break. We have to go out and get the old maps of the city sewer system to try and find where the pipes are. We want to digitize all those maps. I want to have all of my managers to have a pad like you and call up the information and say, okay, this is the pipe that's broken. We can go up here, we can go over here, we can go over here, we shut that down, isolate it, dig it up. Right now, we don't have that at our fingertips.
We have to use technology, but Commissioner, with all the wants, I talk to people. Oh, we need this, we need that, we should have this. Well, about look at this, but they don't understand that with all those wants, there is a price tag attached to the wants.
Yes, there is.
Okay, we complain because taxes are going up, but at the same time we want this, and that. So everything is connected. Now, Commissioner, I have a question from Lorraine Lopez. I don't know. Do you know who Lorraine is?
Former Councilwoman Lorraine Lopez, yes.
I know you, Lorraine. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Lorraine Lopez asked this question. Tell the Commissioner that he's doing a great job both in DPW and as chairman of the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
This is the question. How does he balance both and not let the politics dictate his job performance?
Good question.
It's a good question.
Look, if I said it doesn't, I think everybody out there, including myself, would be saying, oh, he's full of it.
You bet.
It does. Look, I try to. A lot of people criticize me for not returning their phone calls. They call me in the middle of the day. I think the easiest answer is integrity. I take my job seriously, and I take my employees seriously. I'm employed by the city of Yonkers. That means the people of Yonkers. They don't want me sitting at this desk taking care of democratic business. So when people call me back and they'll yell at me, why did it take you so long to get back to me? I said, because I do my political phone calls at lunchtime or on my way home and in the evening. So I try to keep that separated. Yes, sometimes is there an emergency and somebody calls me and I thought it was a friendly call, and then all of a sudden you start to talk about politics. I don't hang up on you and say, I can't talk to you anymore, I'm at work. we all have bleed
Otherwise,
over of
they
our
would
personal.
blast you because you. So
Right.
yes.
But I try to limit that. Look, even when I meet with the mayor, because the mayor and I meet usually on a monthly basis to talk. You know, my chance as commissioner to talk to the mayor about the needs of the Democratic Party. We meet outside of City Hall. Very easy for me to go downstairs and in the middle of one of our meetings about water, start talking about politics.
You gotta separate.
But we don't. We separate it. We're adults and we can do that. So it's not easy, and sometimes small percentage it bleeds over. But I think we do a good job at putting that firewall up and saying, I'm going to handle this outside.
How you handle overtime in your department? I know that overtime, not just your department, but overtime in the police department, your department, fire department, is a problem. Okay, I personally don't know what causes so much overtime. Is it because people are calling sick? Is it because people are going in disability? Are people because they have a toenail and they call in sick and stay out for a while? Is that a problem in your department? And have you measured the overtime from last year versus, well, this year we're not, but let's say last year this time and this year this time? How is it going?
I think it's going fantastic. First of all, let me say this. The group of men and women in DPW are beyond fantastic. They're a great group of workers. They do a great job for the city of Yonkers, especially when there's a crisis. And those who were here when Superstorm Sandy hit us will remember the DPW guys going out there, sanitation guys going out there, helping residents clean their yards. Look, one of them came back to me and said, well, we're not allowed to go onto property because we were told not to. So I found out why, and pretty much the lawyer said, well, we don't want to have any liability if they get hurt while they're on property. Right.
Private property.
So I said, forget that. I said, you are the ambassadors of the city of Yonkers. The residents see you at least 3 times a day, or 3 times a week. They either see you on Monday and Thursday and Wednesday for recycling, or they see you Tuesday and Friday and Wednesday for recycling. So they see you all the time. You see an old man or an old lady trying to clean up their yard and they're struggling to bring a branch. I want you to go into their yard, grab the branch, bring it over to the truck and put it into the truck and get rid of it. And they did that. They responded to that. But getting back to the overtime. The only big surprise overtime that we have, well, actually there's 2. Water main breaks, which we have no control over, and snowstorms. And we have a budget of $1 million for snowstorms for overtime, $900,000, and $900,000 for salt. And everybody's like, look at the weather out here, it's great, you're going to have a big bumper crop. Remember, we already had 7 winter storms from October to now. 7 of them. Not a lot of snow, but we had 7 storms. And if you remember watching the news back then in October, well, if this model says we might get 1 to 3 inches, and this model says 2 to 4 inches, and this model says we might get 6 to 8 inches, I don't know what we're going to get.
But you have to be prepared.
My guys went out and put salt.
Yes.
So we worked, we used the salt. I can't take it back when it doesn't snow. We'll sweep it back up and put it back in the salt barn. We used it. So we're still in good shape, but we did have 7 winter storms.
Warnings.
No, it rained or snowed or sleeted.
Okay.
So we had to put salt down. We also, most people realize that they see my trucks out before the snowstorm spraying down a liquid. That's brine, it's salt water. 23% salt mixed in with the water. And when we apply that down on the street, it dries in such a way, kind of gets into the pores of the asphalt. Now when it starts snowing, it makes it easier for that first plow truck to peel off that layer of snow. So once the snow's on there, if the asphalt's cold, it sticks to the asphalt. Because we put down that layer of brine, now when our plows come up, it kind of peels right up and leaves us, so it gives us a little bit of a head start. And that takes a lot of salt. So we have used a lot of salt. We're nowhere near and emptying the salt barn. The salt barn is full, holds 8,000 tons of salt. We're good in case we get any snow in March. And remember, over the last couple of years, just before St. Patrick's Day parade, I believe it was last year or the year before, it's like the last day of March, the last week of March, we got a triple header. We had 3 storms in a row.
Okay.
I think that was 2 years ago.
Now let's move into something else. Your fleet. Your fleet is aging. I haven't seen new trucks. What's going on with upgrading? Is it business-wise justifiable to upgrade some of your fleet? Or are you happy with the trucks that you have?
Look, I don't think any manager is ever happy, but this mayor and this council, along with the last council and the council before that, have allocated millions of dollars to upgrade our fleet in police, fire, and public works and parks equipment. We have a lot of work to do. Our trucks take a beating. Our trucks were old when we got here. The average age of the snow fleet was over 24 years old. Mayor Spano and the council gave me a couple of $1 million, this was a few years back, to immediately upgrade the snow fleet. We got it down to where it's probably on average now about 16 years old. We're still adding a couple of new vehicles as we speak. So we've gone a long way to replace those really old trucks that we were holding together with duct tape and prayers by buying new vehicles. The equipment we have is very expensive. One of our big, large-bodied salt plows are close to $200,000. A garbage truck is $230,000. One of our big sewer trucks that suck out the muck out of a sewer is almost $500,000. A fire engine, the pumpers, are $500,000, $500,000. A fire ladder or tower truck is $1 million to $1.2 million each. So when the council appropriates $2, $3, $4, $5 million for new vehicles, it's going like that. It doesn't buy a lot.
But Commissioner, this city is expanding rapidly. Okay, actually, you know, every 6 months you can drive around and you see one new building. With that new building, there is hundreds of occupants in that building. So in a matter of a few years, you have thousands of new residents. With those thousands of new residents, that means tons of garbage. So you have to adapt to the growth of the city. And that question was also posed to the commission, the fire commission. How is your department prepared to deal with this so quick growth of our city?
In a couple of ways, we're on the ground floor when it comes to developers doing the initial discussions with the city of Yonkers. So the planning department gets, you know, Tom Meier just come in, he wants to build 300 units of housing in Yonkers. We're in on that discussion, and some of my first things are you need to contribute to bring the water system there, and you need to contribute to bring the water system out of there. The water in, the sewer out. They need to invest and make some improvements to the system. Next thing we talk about is garbage. We need them to make a commitment. I don't need more apartment buildings, particularly on the west side because space is limited, but I don't need more apartment buildings that are going to take these big garbage bags and make mountains in front of their apartment buildings because there's no place to store their garbage. So they got to provide for a place to store their garbage. One of the better ways to do that is to invest in trash compactors, set aside some room in what you would normally have as parking. Well, you have to sacrifice a couple parking spaces because you have to manage your garbage. We're not going to allow you to throw it on the street on Saturday evening when your custodial staff leaves for the day and it doesn't get picked up till Monday, because that leads to all kinds of health issues. So, but that takes time. That's for new buildings. For old buildings, my manager of sanitation works with them every year. We convert over, and we try to find room for recycling. We try to find room for compactors. We try to find alternative ways to manage that garbage for them. Because you're right, the more and more our population grows, they're going to use more water, they're going to waste more, and they're going to have more garbage.
Now, I don't know if I told you about we have a little rule in Yonkers Voice, okay? Everyone I interviewed, especially people in key positions, have to give me an exclusive. I always ask the mayor for one exclusive He's sometimes, most of the time he gives me one, and I'm going to ask you for that exclusive. And I have an idea. Mayor Spano, as a mayor, this is his last term. Will I, in 40 years, be interviewing Mayor Tom?
Oh, that's the exclusive you want?
Yeah, I want to know. Will I be sitting downstairs interviewing Mayor Tom Meier?
I see this in a couple of ways. There's no doubt I love the city of Yonkers. I was born here, raised here. I'll die here someday. Not too soon. That wasn't a request.
Or suggestion.
Or suggestion. I think the biggest thing that I rack myself with is those are big shoes to fill.
Commission, don't give me that political answer.
No, it's not a political answer. Look, Mike Spano has been my friend for a long time. I've known him for probably 40 years. And when he decided to run for mayor, I was thrilled. I had no hopes or dreams of working for the city of Yonkers. My career was in the military. I retired from the military. I was extremely happy and honored that he asked me to come aboard. But I have seen things happen here under Mike Spano's administration that kind of make it a daunting task to look into the future and say, how do I do what he does? It's nothing that I've ruled out. It's nothing that I'm planning for. I don't have a committee to elect Tom Meier yet.
Yeah, okay.
It's certainly something that I will continue to discuss. Look, there's a lot of fine leaders in city government. There's a lot of fine leaders in the city of Yonkers. There's a lot of people who have expressed interest in becoming mayor, either in the past or the future. There's certainly our city council president, Mike Cater. There's Senator Shelley Mayer, who wanted to look at being mayor one day. But so there's a lot of qualified people in there. And sometimes as the leader, they say sometimes the leader is the kingmaker rather than being the king. So I'm content with helping people.
But I'm not sitting with them now. I'm sitting with you.
I am committed to the residents of Yonkers and the Democratic Party to make sure that we select the best person to succeed Mike Spano and bring Yonkers further into the future.
I remember, I think 2 years ago, I interviewed the mayor. And I said, Mayor, I've been hearing some zoom-zooms about a third term. He said, no.
He didn't lie to you. He did not lie to you.
No, I'm not saying he did.
He meant no. We had fights.
But I remember another interview that I had with somebody by the name of Tom Meier. Do you remember that? I have it on tape.
I remember it.
Where I asked you, is there a chance that you might run for mayor? And you said it's something that it's possible.
And it was absolutely possible at that time.
Exactly. But Mayor Spano decided to stay, to run for a third term. He won. But we have to have a new mayor. Would that dream still in the pipeline? Give me a yes or no. I need an exclusive. Otherwise, I'm letting my audience down. I need an exclusive.
I love to be honest with people.
Please.
Okay. Is it still a viable option? Yes.
You heard it. You heard it right here. That's the exclusive. In 3 years, I might be interviewing you downstairs. You a stand-up man, honest man. You tell us it is. Me liking or not liking it, but that's okay. I love my wife, but not everything she tells me I like it. Okay?
You want that on tape? No. Oh, you can edit that out.
Yeah.
No, we're live.
No, this is we're done. This is it. So, hopefully you will run. I'm sure that lots of people will be happy with that decision, but as the other guy said, we will see.
I'm very happy being the Commissioner of Public Works. I like the job. I like the men and women that work for DPW. I think we get a lot accomplished, and we'll continue to get a lot accomplished. And I think anybody who thinks Mike Spano sitting on his laurels is rudely mistaken. At the end of the year after the election, the mayor met with several of his commissioners, and in the very beginning, the first week or two, well, actually, it was before the year ended, sat down with each commissioner and went over their goals and objectives for the next 4 years. It made it very clear. He didn't want us sitting around celebrating what we did. He wanted us sitting around planning and executing what Yonkers is going to be. So that's my focus. My focus is to support not only the goals that I've shared as Public Works Commissioner, but the feedback that the mayor gave back, because it's always I'd like to do this, and he says, yeah, but why don't we do this too? That's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on continuing to make the vision that Mike Spano has for Yonkers a reality, and that's what I'm committed for the next 4 years, 3 years and 10 months, and then we'll take it from there. But if I change my mind, I'll give you that exclusive. I'll call you up.
Is that a promise?
That's a promise.
On that
A promise with a handshake.
Thank you. On that note, we conclude this interview. Thank you guys for watching. Yonkers Voice, it's always where we need to be. Our interest is to keep you, the people of Yonkers, informed of what's going on, what's coming up in Yonkers. As always, we don't support, we don't oppose anybody. Our interest is just to keep you informed of what's going on. Thank you, Commissioner. Until next time. Stay tuned for more.